Hey friends, I'm Helen with Floating Yoga School. I am here with a brand new friend, Jany, who I've actually been Instagram stalking for a while. She is hosting amazing outdoor classes here on Maui and is just an incredible energy and spirit. And so we thought it'd be fun to get together and do a little interview and talk through some of the things that we love about yoga, get to know each other a little bit better, and share with you all some fun stuff that we just love to talk about and nerd out about. Yeah. So we're gonna popcorn style some questions back and forth. You want me to start?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yay!
My first YouTube interview too, by the way.
Oh.
Which my friend just sent me. She's reading this book called The Four Paths, and one of them lists like ways to live really fulfilling every day.
Oh, I think I saw you tag me something. Yes.
And so one of them is to on every date of the month of your birthday. So my birthday's July 24th.
Oh, I'm July 23rd.
Oh, Cancer Leo cause twinning.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Something else we're learning about each other.
Okay, and today is the 24th.
Yes, so it's my do something. So they say do something you've never done before every day of the month on your birthday.
I love it.
And so this is my first.
This is so perfect.
I'm doing my first interview on my.
And happy 6-month birthday.
Thank you.
That's
Thanks,
so
sis.
crazy. Whoa, small world, man.
Yeah, we're very aligned.
I love it. So you're more Cancer.
Well, technically Leo, but I
really?
definitely relate.
Oh no, that's
to
right. You're the
Cancer.
24th.
Yeah,
yes,
24th.
yes. I'm the 23rd, so I'm kind of can be sometimes Cancer.
You're
sometimes Leo.
even more on the cusp.
Yeah.
I guess that takes care of your first question, right?
There you go. What we can get more into. Talk about the other side.
I was okay. Yeah.
No, go for it.
So you asked like, what's your sign or dosha? But I really relate, and I don't know if you've heard of it, the Enneagram.
Yes. Oh, I do love Enneagram.
Love it. I've actually had. Maybe I'm manifesting this right now as I say it out loud, but I would love to do an Enneagram workshop where you find out which one you are.
Okay.
And then you can like live your life more aligned, because it's really about balance.
Yeah.
And the ego.
Yes.
Which is like so in line with yoga, and it doesn't say not to get rid of your ego, but to understand it. And so I've started to understand myself way better now that I know my Enneagram, which I'm a 2, which is a helper.
I'm a 2 too.
Literally, I'm talking to myself. We're talking to each other.
So weird.
So I'm
a 2.
Gosh,
yes.
Yeah,
and a perfect teacher, because 2s are great teachers.
We love to help and guide others, but not in a leader. I wouldn't say so much like I want to be the boss.
Totally.
But I love to be like the support, and I want others to be their own boss, and I'll support you in that. But I'm not. I'm too fun to like put on the boss pants. It's like it becomes stressful. Oh yeah, okay. Well, you're also a mom.
Totally.
So maybe if I had a keiki, I would be more bossy. But I love like the support behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh, how wild. Yeah, and I think that one of the things that I love about Enneagrams too, and the dosha, is it's like people can get so caught up in what am I categorized, or almost make excuses. Well, I'm a 2, so I do this, or I'm a pitta, so I do this. But it's understanding yourself, like you're saying, and just like the study of yoga is understanding who you are and how you work, and maybe what makes you tick and what doesn't work for you, and then working within that or around that to live your best life.
Absolutely. Well, it's all intention. So you could do like things mindlessly, or now that again I know more about myself, I know like, oh, sometimes we don't even know like our subconscious intentions are coming through.
That's
and
so
I'm like,
true.
ooh, this is like my subconscious wanting to be loved by everybody, and this is why I'm doing it, rather than like
I actually want to do this.
Right, from just like a helpful
Do you
place.
have problems saying no?
I used to.
Okay.
But again, now that I know myself better, I definitely have put boundaries.
Okay.
Yeah. And it feels good to say.
It's so good.
No, but also like in a compassionate kind of way. And that's the yoga part, is like, how do you do everything that serves yourself, but also doesn't like burn a bridge? Right?
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
So in the beginning, sometimes when we learn these things, we're like, I'm going to say no to, I'm like, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, come back to the middle.
Totally.
So I'm also, my family's Buddhist, so I, like, to me, that's the middle path. Is like you find those edges of like people pleasing, serving yourself, and then you can find some like middle ground.
I love that. Oh, yeah. So, and such a beautiful practice with yoga too, because it's like not the extreme. So we think about the fluctuations of the mind. You're still going to get highs and lows. It doesn't mean that you're not going to, when you practice yoga, you're not going to feel these extreme highs and lows. We're just not letting them affect us in the same way. So we're noticing in them and finding that middle path.
And I just read somewhere too about yoga having comfort zones, like people that always want to do yin, or people that always want to
it's so true.
sweat and flow, you know? And so it's funny, like even your yoga practice has edges, and what's the middle, you know? So if you always do yin, maybe you do 5 hard poses today. Yeah.
Oh, that's such good advice.
So many layers.
There you guys go. Words of wisdom from Jany. We're going to start a new podcast or something. I love it. Well, how did you first discover yoga?
Groupon.
Amazing.
I love a good bargain. Does Groupon even exist anymore? Okay. Yeah, and through a friend, so my friend and I used to be like 24-hour gym junkies, going to turbo kickboxing together. That was our thing. And she got a Groupon for a Bikram studio, and she's like, come do it with me. And
everyone always starts with Bikram.
Yeah. Did you too?
No, but it's always curious to me. I'm like, hot yoga, wow.
I want to hear what your first was. But so yeah, Bikram. And at that time in my life, I was in my late 20s and going through a tough breakup. And it was actually what I needed. I needed that butt-kicking discipline in a sweaty room to like feel strong.
Yeah, and to kind of like shake you almost. Like, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, what's happening?
Yeah. Yes. So that was my first, and that's how I found yoga. And I did they had a 30-day challenge. Now I'm kind of like, I kind of love-hate challenges.
100%. 100%. People know,
but,
yes.
Hey, that's what got me to like
and a lot of people too, especially online yogis, like a lot of people will find Yoga with Adrienne, because she does the online challenge every January. Yeah, and she's so real. But I think it's kind of giving you that motivation and that reason to come for those days, and then you get hooked. And what do they say? Is it 21 days to build a habit?
Something like that.
Or 28? Yeah. So it takes a certain amount of time.
You have to
do that.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you?
My first yoga class was in college, actually. So as a PE credit, so like 20 years ago, because I'm 40. So I did dance in college, not as like a major or anything, just for fun, but we also had to take like PE on top of it. And so I asked all my dance friends, like, what are you guys taking for PE? And they're like, oh, we're taking this yoga class. And it was at 8 a.m., which in college is like early, which is so funny. I know, I'm like the 5 today. I'm like 3:15, like, woo! Not really, but yeah, so I remember going to class, and our teacher was super hippie, and it was like in this upstairs yoga studio, dance studio in the gym. So it was by the pool, and you could like smell the chlorine, and it was a big room, and there's a lot of football players of all things there. And I just remember she would just say like the most woo-woo things that I kind of secretly loved, but also hadn't really been exposed to. And when we're leaving post, she would say, like, you might actually release gas. And one time she farted, and it was just like cracking up. And everyone fell asleep in Shavasana. And it's funny because I don't have that strong of memories of the class as a whole, but I know that I must have liked it because my sister got me a yoga book for Christmas that year. So I must have talked about it. And then I kind of like let it fall back, and it wasn't a thing. And I moved to New York City after college, and that was like my stress relief. Like, it became, okay, I need to do yoga because I'm working hard and playing hard. I need some balance. And
oh my gosh, I love that you said the woo-woo stuff, but like you somehow must have liked it. And I really think we all, and it's not a secret, but it's whether or not we are more open to it.
100%.
But we all have souls and spirits, and when people speak from that place too, you feel it. And so that's the feeling. It's like one of my best friends, and she's a yogi, but she says, I hate that woo-woo stuff. And I was like, but you don't, you do. You say it.
And we were talking about this before we even turned on the camera, I think, it's right. It's like sprinkling that in a way that people can relate to. Or like, oh my gosh, if I like Enneagrams or I like to learn about astrology, there's some woo to that too.
Right.
So let's add in some of the spirituality. We had a really long discussion in a yoga group that I have online, like a yoga workshop group, and we were talking about, is yoga a religion? And what came up, and whether or not you believe that it is, which I don't, but that spirituality aspect that I think we're all looking for.
Yes.
And I was at a church the other day, and they had like their sermon or whatever going on. I could hear from the speakers. We were playing at the playground, me and my son, and I was just thinking, I was like, this is like the same stuff we talk about in yoga classes, but people go to church for it. Totally. So it's like, this is our place that we get to come back to ourselves. We get to believe in something greater, connect to others. Yep. It just looks a little different.
Exactly. So, And one of my other yoga teachers, Bonnie Weeks, she says there's many ways to be right.
Oh, so, I love that.
Right? I know, whereas like some people think in religion, everyone's saying like, you're wrong, I'm right. And I'm like, why can't we just say, I'm right and you're right too?
Yeah. And shades of gray. It's not black and white in the world.
Totally. Awesome. Okay, yeah, college years.
College years.
I know.
Yes.
I wish it were sooner, but better late than never.
That's right. That's right. I know when I think about teenagers practicing yoga now, I'm like, this is such a gift. And
but honestly,
that.
I still think, like mentally, emotionally, it still might not be, like, you're not ready to receive that.
And you find it when you need it.
Yes, exactly. I needed it then really badly.
Totally.
All right. So, ooh, I like this one. This was fun. This is your question. I'm silly.
No, please.
But
yeah, this is great.
do you have any bucket list travel destination?
Oh my gosh, so many. New Zealand is a big one right now. I have a friend who's a flight attendant, and she just went to New Zealand, and the pictures she posted were wild. We actually thought about looking at New Zealand to move to before we chose Maui.
I'm glad you did
But
it.
we haven't even been, so it's one of those things like, why are we moving there if we've never been? But that's on my list for sure. Africa, I've never been anywhere in Africa. What about you?
I have been in New Zealand.
Oh, okay.
But I will say, I thought it was like here, and I brought like bathing suits. It's cold.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only, I didn't realize.
Then maybe I don't want
so
to.
So heads up. You can, yeah, but it's not like no one's at the beach.
Yes.
Like I was like, and then once you step out, you're like, I realize why now. It's cold.
I need a jacket.
Yes.
And a vest. Okay.
But it is beautiful.
Okay.
I could see why that's on your list. So Africa is on, and I'm torn with the safaris because I feel a certain way about the animals, but it definitely is drawing me, that wild side. And Turkey.
Ooh,
yes.
yes.
So a bucket list adventure that's been on my list for a while is hot air ballooning, and that's the place to do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have hundreds that go out regularly at the same time, and
the
clouds,
how magical.
the sky it is magical. It's very IG worthy, which
Love
is probably how I found it. But yeah, Cappadocia.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Cappadocia.
Cappadocia in Turkey. So that's on my list.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay, I might change mine.
We can go together.
Okay, look, we're gonna do a yoga retreat in Turkey. Stay tuned.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard great things about sailing there. So I lived on a sailboat for a little bit too, sailing Turkey, Croatia, that area.
Yes, I've been to Croatia too.
Oh my gosh,
that was one of my favorites.
A lot.
Yes, and yeah, I did travel a lot, which is why I'm totally fine not traveling as much now.
Yes.
So things change.
And it's nice to feel that groundedness and going through those different phases. Or
absolutely. Yeah.
Yay.
So that was a fun question. Thank you. Oh, how about this one?
Okay, there's so many choices.
We've chatted before, so I'm just going to bring that up again. But if you owned a studio, I know you have your YouTube, and I love that name, Floating Yoga School. But if you had like a brick and mortar, what would you name it?
So we had a yoga studio in Oregon, Bend, Oregon, called Wild Thing Yoga.
Cute.
And one of it was because we love the poses. Exactly. And we love that spirit of being just kind of wild and free. We thought about calling it lazy dog yoga. We didn't have a dog, and we're like, we're gonna have to get a dog, and he's gonna have to sit there. And so we're like, okay, let's do Wild Thing Yoga. Yeah, kind of an homage to the pose and also to the spirit in Oregon and here and everywhere that I really love. That being with nature and being out, and I think we talked about this too. Practicing outside, like the perfect yoga place, appreciating the elements. So. Going back to that wild thing. And floating yoga school is funny because that came from living on a sailboat. So we were literally floating around and doing teacher trainings and doing paddle yoga. But a lot of people get confused with that because they're like, what's the floating? Is it on a paddle board? And I do have some videos on a paddle board. So I thought about changing it. But now I love it because we're kind of just floating around. And we can be a pop-up studio and be here and be there. And
that's how I interpret it. But if I didn't know about your stand-up background, then I'd be like, oh, is it a stand-up paddle teaching? Okay, got it.
Yeah. What about you?
So I'm a sucker for puns.
I love it.
So, well, and I got to give credit to, again, one of my teachers back in Sacramento, where I'm from originally, Heather. She's now married, so Heather Hara. But she would use the term like my homie, but capital O-M in the middle.
Cute.
So I think if I had a studio, it'd be called Home. And the O-M capital. And I just think yoga, it should feel like home.
She's wonderful, isn't she?
So I want you to feel at home when you walk in.
Yes.
And everyone is your family, you know, for better or worse.
Right. And sometimes they push your buttons, and sometimes they bring up your stuff.
But that's part of the practice.
Oh, that's
it's like,
beautiful.
don't run away from your home and whatever family traumas, you know.
And get to know your home and be more comfortable in your home.
Yes, make more of a home in yourself.
I love that.
And that's what I think yoga has, that's the biggest gift that you can walk away with from consistent practice, is just being more at home with yourself.
And accepting.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like that's
Yes.
a huge thing for me, especially the older I get. I'm like, cool, my practice doesn't have to be handstands and it doesn't have to look this way. And my body is amazing, even if there's things that I'd want to change about it. But yeah, this is my home. What a gift.
It's your home.
Oh, that's beautiful. Do you think you're going to do it ever?
Never.
Okay.
Also, I would like to say I would never own a studio.
Having done that, I will say there's a lot that goes into it. I don't.
Yeah.
I never say never for me because I always change my mind. But yeah, I'm happy not owning a studio
Watch
right
us
now.
open one. No,
Yeah. Well, and I think in a
say
different
it.
way.
Yeah.
You know, it could look not the traditional studio, I should say.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I've taught it a lot, and it's I'm not a parent, but as I don't know, maybe you can tell me this.
Yeah.
What's harder, owning a yoga studio or raising a child?
Well, what's
Being a
interesting
parent.
is we opened our studio in Oregon at the end of 2017, and my son was born in 2019. So essentially 6 months after opening, I got pregnant. We were building the studio while I was pregnant. My son was born. He came into the studio like his first week of life. I taught a teacher training, probably. I love when we get dogs.
I know. I was like, maybe the puppy will come. Yes, this is another benefit of outdoor yoga.
We'll just interrupt. I taught a teacher training 6 weeks after giving birth. So he grew up in it, which was beautiful. And they're both so challenging and so fun. And it does feel like you're raising a child when you have a studio space and all these people. Hi. You just want to hang out?
Probably smells my breakfast on my hand, my turkey croissant sandwich.
Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah. So yeah, both are challenging.
Okay, in their own ways.
In their own ways.
Right.
Having a kid more so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
yeah,
that
I
doesn't
can
make
lock
me
the studio door and say goodnight.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
Oh,
Yoga-wise,
man.
practice-wise, life-wise? Do you have
You
any
know
big
what?
goals that you want to share?
Anytime anyone asks me about the future,
You're like, damn you.
we did it in teacher training at the end. They asked us, so where do you see yourself? And I just was like, oh, I hate this question.
Oh,
I don't know what it's very, I'm understanding myself. There's something about the future that brings up a lot of, I just want to be so present, I just want to think about the now.
That's beautiful. I feel like I'm the opposite sometimes, so I really love that perspective where sometimes I'm always planning. And I'm like, why can't I appreciate being right here? So that's good. Maybe that's why I had the question.
Not that I don't plan. I do plan.
Yes,
but
obviously.
Yes, but I think it's the too far out. There's like a threshold of that's too far away. I don't want to. Like someone the other day was like, do you want to do a gym class with me on Friday? It was like Monday, and I was like, I can't think that far.
Text me on Thursday.
Yes, that's what it was.
I get that.
So,
Okay.
I do know for certain I will be doing something with yoga.
Love it. Okay, so it's going to be part of your life.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. So that I can say with like certainty, no matter what, as long as, and I tell everyone, like, if you can breathe, you can do yoga.
Yeah, I want to teach when I'm 90.
There you go. Yeah. I don't see myself owning a studio per se, and I enjoy my Jany outdoor yoga classes that I just started in September of last year. Like, I'm just really happy with the momentum that it's gaining, but I don't really, like, my goal was 3 classes a week. That's it, and my other goal was to connect with other teachers on island So again, I'm from Sacramento, and I used to teach for a nonprofit called Yoga Moves Us.
Okay.
And they only taught donation-based at parks, libraries, food banks, to the community, to community places, to make it more accessible. Yeah. And so, but it takes a tribe to get that kind of project on that scale going, and I don't think I want it that big here. Yeah. Plus, it doesn't work. Like, Maui's so unique in that way that it's small.
Right, and then it takes on a different life, right? You have to do more admin and all this stuff, and you don't get the fun part of it.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it fun, and so yeah, like connecting with you, I think this is already like the beginning of that community starting. And that's it. I guess I just want to keep giving yoga to the people in ways at that moment feels really good for me. Yeah. Also, because 3 a week is a good balance.
And it's sustainable for you to continue your own practice.
I mean, I've taught like 20 classes a week.
Oh, yes.
Like 8, and it's burn-out zone.
Yeah, and you don't even remember. I'll be like, we're going back to down dog. Have we even done a down dog, or was that 3 classes ago?
Exactly. Yeah. So I just want to keep doing it in a way that's like sustainable and that like makes sense for me at that time. I guess
I love that. And for those who don't know, I mean, Maui is super expensive, and so renting a space is I'm sure, insane. To there's places that are charging like $30 a drop in, and that's not accessible to a lot of people. Even though a lot of people do have money here or are tourists, there's definitely people. So I love that you're offering free classes to fire survivors and just donation based. I think it's wonderful. I know there's a group of teachers who are teaching on the west side at Airport Beach, and they do a free class every day, which I think is beautiful. But if you don't know Maui, we're very much like, you live where you live because it's far away. You know, you kind of practice where you live.
It's small, but also like...
It's a small island, but it's also spread out. It's kind of like, would you drive 45 minutes to go to a yoga class? Maybe. And maybe people who live in cities think this is weird because they do drive across, but for us, that feels far. More than 20 minutes, I'm like,
border.
I don't know. I gotta, you know, and if I'm going up country, I gotta plan that out a little bit.
Pack
That's
a lunch.
Big drive. There's another dog guy. Totally. So I love that. So it definitely feels, and then you get to know people a little bit better. And there's this sense of...
I mean, we've been following each other. I don't know. I guess it happens sort of quickly. You and I finally meeting in person.
Yeah, a few months.
Yeah. So I'm sure.
But it does take that time.
Right. Yeah, the alignment. And you're an earlier yogi than I am. So.
We have different life schedules. It's just where we are. So I think that's pretty cool.
So
but it's funny because people who I know who practice with you, like, I know people who know you, I'm sure you know people who know me that are like outside of the realm of us knowing each other together, like more we know together kind of thing. But then there's other people I'm like, on this island. So fun.
Yeah. So you really, it really puts, like, you know that saying, like, who would you be if no one's looking?
Oh yes, everyone's looking. They're watching you.
This is where you know, but it's good because
people are holding you accountable, and I think people are also supporting you and cheering for you. So that's pretty fun.
Exactly. And so where do you see yourself?
Oh man, so I've been saying this for a long time. I don't know if it'll really happen. So even though I said I don't want to own another studio, or I don't think that I will, I would love to own a retreat center. And right now the vision is, I don't know where, and maybe not on Maui because Maui is expensive. We've been looking a little bit on the Big Island in Kauai, but getting some land. Yeah, and I just love the energy on both those places. Getting a little bit of land, having a home, but also have like cabins or yurts people can stay, and then having a big studio space that could also be an event space or an outdoor school. So also going through the process of trying to figure out my son's schooling and where do I want to be, and just like sitting in the classroom all day for, you know, however many hours at 5 years old seems wild to me, and I want him to run and be free and appreciate
wild
nature.
Thing. You want him to be a wild thing.
So I'm like, how do we combine these things? Or almost like a world schooling hub where people who are traveling can come and stay and practice some yoga. There's a few spots around, so I'm checking them out too. So maybe there's a way to partner with someone who's already doing it.
I love
instead of creating our own.
Beautiful.
But that's sort of the long-term vision, and definitely always have teaching in my life in some way. I will say it has been nice for me to take a step back from teaching a lot in person. I do my online stuff and film, and some of it is by myself and some of it is with other people. But I was getting to a place where, especially owning a studio, you have to step in when people are out, and you're just, you can be constantly teaching or constantly dealing with it. So sometimes it's nice to be like, I'm a student again, and what do I want to do? You know, step back, let it ebb and flow, and think more about it. And that's where it is. It's like sharing more intimate spaces with people, getting a chance to have deeper conversations about yoga. I love teacher trainings and workshops for that reason. So how does that look as far as having some land and some space?
Have you done an in-person workshop on Maui yet?
I have not, no. Well,
there we go. Yeah.
That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to take it. Sign me up.
Okay, we'll figure something out. Or I'm like making you co-teach already in my head. Okay.
So many seeds together that we're planting right here, right now. I love
that's beautiful.
Ooh, how about any surprising or hidden talents or skills?
That's funny. I couldn't think of any, and now what comes to mind, and I won't do it on camera because it's just weird, but I can blow tongue bubbles.
With your spit?
Yeah.
Okay.
She was like, yeah, so weird. No other real hidden talents. I don't even know if I'd consider that a talent, but sometimes it'll just pop out, and I'm like, look at that. And that was probably cool when you were like 12. What about you?
That was not what I was expecting also. I love it. I love that question.
I'm a weirdo. If you don't know me well, Jany will get there.
So did you teach your son that? Did he inherit that?
No, he hasn't, but he can roll his tongue.
Yeah, I can't even do that.
Oh, okay.
So, well, okay, this is a goofy one kind of in the same vein. So my background is my family's born in Thailand. I'm Thai.
Okay.
And well, moving here, people really think I'm from here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but same thing, Pacific Islander. And I don't. So they have this. It's a Thai dance, and they wear these really long fingernails.
Yes,
and
I've seen it before.
And they bend their hand, like, I can't, it's actually less now.
Okay.
Can you do it? Do you have it? Oh, you have it more so than me. You're more Thai than me.
Yes.
So I used to do it more, but now I've lost it because I haven't done it in a while. But they used to bend like a lot.
Okay.
So that's kind of my weird talent. As far as like a skill that maybe, I don't know if a lot of people know. So during COVID, you know, I think we all picked up some random online thing. And I had a hard time sleeping one day, and I found on TikTok, which I had to delete because I was on it too much. It's very addictive.
Yeah.
But I will say there are some good like learning tools that you can get from there. And I found EFT tapping.
Oh, I love that.
Tapping, yeah.
Yes.
And then of course things aligned, and I found there's a really great EFT teacher in Sacramento, and I took her level 1 training. So I'm certified level 1 for EFT tapping meditation.
Wow, we should do yoga and EFT because I think there's something so
definitely
intertwined.
Yeah, it's a really good like somatic practice
100%.
too, of like literally getting to know your body and then calming it yourself. So self-regulation.
I use that for anxiety. So I was taught it in therapy, and I remember one time having a panic attack and just sitting on the bathroom floor and being like, going through my little thing. Yeah,
it works.
It totally
That's
works.
the woo-woo stuff that people are like, you want me to just tap my body, and then they start doing it, and they're like, oh.
And they walk around, they find the
like,
points.
Oh, it's working.
Oh, how cool!
So
I love that. Well, I also am a Reiki practitioner, level 2, but I don't know. I don't practice that as much either. So maybe we'll have to.
Yeah, we're gonna have to
bring
spark
that
back up.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite poses, transitions, pranayama?
So
what do you love?
Lately, I've been loving transitioning from half fish twists. So I think because it gets you to the back of the mat. I guess I just have to demo. So,
I love
but
it.
It's tricky and it can be confusing, especially because in Joy we practice in a circle.
Yes, and so people can get confused right and left.
Absolutely. So it's a little bit easier to teach in a studio space where we're all facing the same focal point. But
that's also really beautiful too, right? It's like we're all turning together.
Totally, it can. Yeah. It depends, you know, if you're totally new to yoga and then someone pops this transition, you're like, am I breakdancing? Like, what are we doing? I thought I signed up for yoga. So, but again, one of my teachers, Bonnie Wei, she's always like, I like to bend the rules, you know? So this is little rule breaker and just like a fun way to get to the back of the mat. So from here, you know, in your half fish twist, you'd be in a twist and then you'd unwind, but you just keep unwinding. You just keep going, and then you end up at the back in a three-legged. Yeah, so that's one way to get to the other side of the mat I've been doing. And I love, what else? My favorite breath work, I think it's just one of the best all around, is Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril. So
that's always.
When in doubt, just
alternate it out.
We
just came up with a tagline.
That needs to be a t-shirt.
Oh.
When in doubt.
When your swag is coming, you got your bucket hats showing
Yes,
up.
the bucket hats are on the way. Yeah, that's a great, I love that. When in doubt, alternate it out.
Alternate, and that's probably true for so many things in life, not just breathing.
Switch it out.
I really love the box breath.
Oh,
I'm
4, 4, 4.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I feel like that's, and it's funny because I feel like I wasn't really introduced that as part of a yoga practice, and then I was leading a teacher training, and one of my students was like, oh, we do this box breath. I forget where she had learned it, so she led the group, and I was like, see, you learn something from your students all the time too. Yes. And ever since then, that was probably 8 years ago, I was like, yes, this is my favorite go-to. Right. It's so easy. Most people are familiar with it. I feel like it's just a good little regulation.
Tried and true.
Yes, yeah. I feel like poses and transitions, I get in my ruts for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why it's fun to take different classes or try different stuff. I really love stuff that's accessible, because I think a lot of times in a flow, especially when I'm teaching online, because I don't know who's practicing, you know, I can't watch them, I don't know what's going on. Stepping back from the top of the mat versus stepping forward. So like I do a lot of one-legged Tadasana to stuff and then get creative from there. So
I've been doing that lately with Joy, actually, because I had a lady come to class and she says, I can't be on my knees.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's hard, and what an extra challenge for you.
Yes, but also great. Yeah,
so
it gets me out of my rut. Please tell me. And I usually start class with your name, where you're from, and your favorite yoga pose or what you want to move or stretch today. So that really keeps me present as a teacher because, you know, I'm teaching to what is there right now and what they want, or, you know, and then I modify to that. But yeah, tell me your injuries. Tell me what doesn't feel good today or what feels really good today. And I'm going to do my best to like make that happen in that class at that moment.
That makes me think, I one time had the student come to class and I was filming, and so we would, on our yoga studio, we would announce it's filming. So a lot of times you wouldn't get a lot of people because they don't want to be filmed. So luckily she was the only student who showed up, but it was like Vinyasa flow filmed. And not everyone knows what Vinyasa is, so not her fault. She was like, oh, I can't put any weight on my wrists.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I have to teach a Vinyasa flow, but we got super creative and we came up with something, and it is so true that it's it keeps us really present, and it gets us out of our head and makes us just be with the people. And sometimes it's awkward and doesn't work, and sometimes it creates this beautiful flow. They're like, wow, I would have never done this because I would have always just done my normal thing.
Totally. Well, it's a conversation, I like to think of teaching, where obviously I never taught like that in the beginning. It was more of like, this is what I was given, and that's why structure in the beginning is great for anyone new on both sides, teacher and student. But once both are experienced, I think you can start to add in like more, I don't want to say improv, but it's like, okay, what are we feeling today? What am I feeling today? And let's like go from there.
Totally.
And of course you always have the bones of like the classic, you know, your classics, Sun A, Sun B, what have you. But yeah, like getting out of that, not militant, but like, you know, because some I've taken, there are some, I think, teachers or philosophies of yoga that think it should be structured and repetitive to work. And I also see the value in that too. So
it's also interesting how different personalities are drawn to different styles. Where some people like to see the progress, and repetition can be nice. This week it feels like this next week it feels like that.
Right.
Or I know what to expect, and so that feels safe and comforting. Okay, I know the next pose. To me, I'm like so bored. I'm totally checked out. I'm like, I can do this without
Isn't
even.
It so interesting? For some people, that's what really gets them out of their heads. Right? So I always say, like, you got to find the one that gets, well, both ways, in or out of your head. Whatever you need that day. But
so true.
Yeah. It's, I kind of like this conversation at this time. Who knows, I might change my teaching and something else might call to me. But yeah, like I said, the first class I ever took was Bikram, and it was very disciplined and repetitive. But at that time, it really, now I can't even begin to think of stepping foot. It's like too hot, you know, the heat too. So I know a lot of people don't love to practice outdoors. I mean, there's many pros and cons. There's lots of distractions. If you're not a dog fan, that might not be the best space, you know, and the wind is whipping. So there's challenges either way. But
and it goes back to what we were saying earlier, kind of knowing yourself and what you need and what you're looking for. And I think being honest with yourself, because I think so many people have this idea of how it's supposed to look or how it's supposed to feel, but don't have that satya, that truthfulness, right? Of what do I really need today, or what am I going through? I know I have days at the end of the day where I'm like, oh, I want to do a practice, and I feel like I want to work out and sweat. I'm like, really? You're stressed out? You just need to lay on the ground and do some stretches and go to bed early. You know, so being really honest with ourselves about that. But that's part of the practice too.
Look at you just sprinkling the philosophy in.
That's how we do, girl. That's how we do.
And that kind of leads to one of the other questions we're going to ask each other. Is like, what would you wish people knew about yoga?
Yeah, I mean, so much. I wish that they knew that it was more about how it feels and less about what it looks like. That's a big one, and I'll say that a lot. I wish that they knew that there's so much philosophy behind it and that they can go as deep or as shallow as they want. Because I think a lot of people are intimidated by that and they don't want to read any of the text. And it's like, you can read some quotes and some pieces, and you can also really dive in. It's kind of where you're ready and what you're ready for. What about you?
Totally. Yeah. I wish people knew, so honestly, as much as I love yoga, I know it's not like a cure-all or for everybody. I think I've had to face that truth.
Yes.
Because
just do some yoga.
Yeah, I would push people, come to class. Why aren't you doing yoga? Yoga's the best thing ever in the world. What's wrong with you?
I'm obsessed. You should be too.
So maybe I'm talking to myself about this, but if you don't like yoga, that's fine. You do, and it's not your jam, great. But I would just say, I hope that you do find something that is keeps you consistent and like inspired. Whatever.
I love that.
Whatever it is.
It might be running for you. It might be surfing. It might be, it doesn't have to be physical. It might be art.
Yeah, but I will say there is big value to doing something consistently with like your like effort. There's like some
absolutely
that it's what's like life is about. It's what keeps life, and the longer you're living life, the harder it is to find that, I guess, the spark or like that drive to like live, like be a kind human.
Yes.
Which, because it's hard, life is hard, and then you get jaded, and like there were definitely times in my life where I could have turned, the term a Karen. So it's like, I'm like, oh, this person just hasn't found something more meaningful than like complaining or like finding the negative. So yoga is just, that's what it is every day, is it's teaching you to like get out of the, see the small little good things and not worry about what's not that important. So I just want people to find their yoga.
Oh, I love that.
And just, find something that really makes them happy from the inside, so that they can like
something you can nerd out about, like us, and talk for an hour with somebody new.
Just nerd out on something.
And to your point, I think the discipline and the consistency and kind of that challenge, something where, and consistency might look different for different people, but something that pushes you, kind of pushes the edges a little bit, so that you can react and change your perspective and say, wow, how did that make me feel, and reflect, and then continue on.
Yes. Exactly. I love that you say consistent looks different for everybody else, though, because in my head I was like, no, 3 times a week at least.
Well, and I would love it every day, but sometimes my every day is 10 minutes, and sometimes my every day is an hour.
Right.
So it's coming back to something.
Yes. But on a weekly basis, I would say, because once a whole week goes by and you don't touch base with that thing, it's like, think about like your favorite thing in the world if you didn't see or hear or do, for a week.
Chocolate. Yeah.
You're like, this is my yoga. It's chocolate.
I've had friends that have taught like yoga and chocolate tasting classes, No, it's so true. We always say that with new teachers too, is like teach 3 classes a week, which sounds like a lot and can feel a lot, but like a class doesn't have to be an hour.
Oh my gosh, that's what I do at Joy.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 a week. 3 a week is a good touch base with, every other, and you get 2 days in a row off.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course it fluctuates. There's been weeks, maybe, I don't know, I'm trying to think, do you know the longest you've gone without teaching or practicing?
Not since I really got into it. Like kind of that first introduction to yoga, and then there's probably like a year or 2 right into it, and then when I got into it, I would say maybe a month max. But even pregnant, like I did stuff, and after my son was born, it was probably 2 weeks that I was doing little things. So and even the mental practice of yoga, I mean, it's always still there. So
that's the other thing too, is yoga is accessible, so you can do it anywhere, anytime.
And I love that. And I don't even bring, we were just talking about, like, I don't even bring my mat places sometimes. You can do it in your living room. I'll have like this little tiny area and make it work. So that's what's so beautiful.
Breathwork. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yay. I feel like we got most of them.
I think so too. Oh, one more.
Okay.
What would you, what's your advice for a beginner who wants to start to have like their own regular practice?
Yeah, this is such a great one.
Consistent practice. Yeah.
And I would say try a bunch of different classes and see what you like, because to our point earlier, there's so many different teachers and so many different styles, and what I like may not be what someone else is like. So if you don't like my classes, go try something else. If you don't like somebody's, just try a bunch. And that can feel daunting and intimidating in itself. Maybe bring a buddy. But yeah, try a bunch and just keep trying and trying until you find one you're like, oh, I want to come back to this.
Oh, okay.
What's your advice?
Yeah, shop around.
Yeah.
Shop around.
You're like, I can say this way shorter.
Yeah, shop around and you know, really it's such a human practice. And I think, yeah, it's like dating.
Yeah.
Right? Like nobody, I don't know, maybe some people enjoy that process, but you know, just understanding that the beginning of it is going to be a little bit of a chore.
Yes.
But once you find that fit, that
then you're
match,
excited.
then it's like, I'm
That's
in
such
love,
a good
right?
analogy, metaphor to it. Yes.
Yeah, and then you get to live happily ever after.
And you might go through moments where you have some
Of
challenges
course.
and growth.
Oh, like any relationship,
Yes.
right? Yeah, yoga is a relationship. So,
oh, that's awesome.
yeah. So also, yeah, I mean, if you are single, no. Like, but I'm not, I used to think I would meet like my future partner in yoga, and that's not like the main reason anyone should do anything, but it definitely brings you to your tribe, to your people. I have met through yoga my people here. I've only been on Maui for 2.5 years.
Okay.
And all of the women in my life that I am so grateful to know was through yoga. In fact, the studio that I still teach at, those Lay and Becca, they're the co-owners, and I met Lay at the first class I took on Maui, and she had a shirt that said, "I am nicer after yoga."
Oh, I love that.
And
that's my friend.
Yes, and I said, "I love your shirt." And then the next week, so she screen prints, she makes them, and she gave me one the next time I saw her. So that's a kind of friendship where they literally would give you like the shirt off their back. And
it's so true. The best people I've met and lifelong friendships and yeah,
it's through yoga. So if anything,
if you're in a new place, it's a great way to meet people.
1,000%. Yeah. So good humans typically go to yoga. I don't know, we're all good humans. We are all good.
And we're all a little crazy.
Yeah.
We're trying to work some stuff out.
So go to yoga, shop around, find your match.
I love it.
There you go.
That's our little soundbite. So good. Yay, thank you so much for taking the time for
Thank
this.
you.
Yeah, I'm going to add Jany's, all her Instagram tags, stuff so you can find her.
Thank you.
And come visit us on Maui.
Yes.
Come practice together. We can roll our mats out next to each other and practice with beautiful Jany. And
yeah, this is actually the new spot, Wednesday, 8:30.
Let's do a little
You
pan.
can practice.
Yeah. And I've been hearing, I haven't been practicing here recently, but that you can see and hear the whales. So
yes. Yeah.
magical show while you're doing yoga.
Definitely whales. I saw one down there before you came. Yeah. So they're out here.
Yay. Well, thank you.
Thank
Enjoy the
you,
rest of your
Helen.
day.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
we'll see you guys soon.